Hi, hey everyone, welcome to Trail Talk. Let's get Ricky into the room. Welcome to Trail Talk for another week. We're waiting on Ricky to join. Here's Ricky. How's it going, mate?
Story, what's happening?
All good. How's things with the training going?
Good, 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 good. Uh, we can't start it like that. We have to start it like this. So Aaron, can you tell everyone why it's at 9 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, and where in the world you are right now?
Where do I start? All right, we'll start off with introducing the show. This is Trail Talk Live. It's a Friday. I'm Aaron, and you are.
Ricky, Ricky
And
Wynn.
yeah, yeah, a little bit of a different one this time. I'm coming to you from Sydney, Australia. Traveled here yesterday. 1 week, actually 6 days out from Ultra Trail Australia. So bit of a jaunt, but yeah, look, it's all good. So what more do you want me to say?
Six 6 days out, 6 days out, massive bit of travel in the last few days. I know you got to the airport, you met your missus, you got back to the house. Did you get some sleep? How do you feel right now? And how are you feeling 6 days out from this big race, man?
I feel good. Like the flights. Sometimes you go on flights and they're a real pain in the ass, and sometimes they go smooth. They went smooth. They went smooth. First one was like 9 hours. Second one was 13 and a half. And so I got to bed last night about half one, which was, that's like lunchtime for you or something. I don't know what time it was. It was middle afternoon for you, but I was still tired. So I got off to sleep, set the alarm for 5:30 because I couldn't do a 4 a.m. start for Trail Talk Live at 7 p.m. UK time. It just wasn't it wasn't possible, mate. I needed a few more hours, so we're reassessing the situation here.
So, so what time are you at? What time are you at right now?
It's 6 a.m.
6 a.m. Wow. Yeah, I, I, I can't complain. It's like 9 o'clock here. I got my run done, finished work, got my run done, got me dinner even. Usually I don't get me dinner until after the show. So I'm winning. I'm
You've
winning.
had essentially like a lion. You've had a Trill Talk lion this week. It's worked. This worked out well for you. You're always rushing to get ready for the show, get off the roof, get home, get whatever you got to do done, and then it's time for the show. So things are changing, and it's working out all right for you. Look, I'm looking forward to talking about what's been going on because there's been loads of stuff going on in trail. And then I'm looking forward to getting out there and having a good day of my own because it's just the start of the day for me. The sun's not even up whenever I look out the window, so I'm looking forward to it. But let's get things going because we're a couple of minutes in. We've loads to talk about. This is Show Talk Live on a Friday. If you can't stick around, catch up on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube from tomorrow, and listen back. Also, shout out to, are you drinking tea?
See,
Tea and
you
coffee.
can't have tea. You have to have coffee. I'm having tea.
Got to give a shout out to XMiles.co.uk, our sponsor. Head over there, use the discount code Iron Over Mountains, get all of your nutrition stuff. They even do compressed sport, Ricky, right? So you can get your compressed sport socks and all that sort of stuff that you're using as well. So head over there, support them, which supports us. Onto the show. Right, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk a lot about Cocodona because a few curveballs occurred at that race and it did not work out the way we thought it was going to be. So, like, let me start off with I've got a few notes here. So, what about the weather? Wasn't the weather like the kick in the balls that nobody was thinking about there?
Nobody. Like, that's one thing I never ever like thought of, that they were going to get rained on, that it was going to be cold. Okay, I know it gets cold at nighttime, but I mean, we're talking Cocodona 250. It's usually just a sweat box, a heat box, sauna, heat train, and that's what you need to be doing before these kind of races. You're dealing with the heat in the middle of the day in Arizona, and what did they get? They get shit, cold, wet, mucky, awful weather and it completely destroys some races for some people.
Yeah. Like if you enter a race in Arizona, you're expecting to deal with carrying around a shit ton of water and coping with the sun and having your Andy Glaze sun makeup on all race. And they just didn't get that. And I think the weather was like one of the main stories of the race because I think it took out so many people. Like I would happily deal with too hot of conditions. It slows you down, it increases your heart rate, your core temperature, and there's a way to deal with that. But see, with weather, like anytime I've had bad races, and actually my DNFs are related to race stoppages because of weather. Like it's just hard to deal with whenever you're out there surviving, because that's what a lot of the long ultras are about. They're about surviving and problem solving. And if you get dumped on, if you get soaked, like,
Yeah.
you might have 8 hours or whatever it is. You might have 10 miles, 20 miles to get to the next aid station, to get to a drop bag, to get fresh gear. And that's an absolute, like, that's a killer. That just drains the life from you. And that results in DNFs. Do you think that had anything to do with the pain cave being closed this week?
For Courtney, I'm guessing, yeah. Yeah, but just on that one, right? On the weather side of things, it's like if you're dealing with the wet weather and the cold weather, and then that mud, and I don't think there's a lot of Europeans looking in it and saying, "Oh, look, America, it was a tough race. They had a little bit of mud, a little bit of mud." That's not a little bit of mud. That's daub clay. That's pure clay, man. And I've ran through some of that kind of stuff before where you're carrying around 3 inches of it. Me and you actually did it in Tunisia. Do you remember we ran through that dauby clay, and I was banging my feet off the rocks whenever I could, when I was racing hard, trying to bang my feet off the rock, just to get rid of that clay. That clay does not want to come off, like. And if you're carrying that around with you for like 10, 15 miles before every aid session, then the next one you leave it and it's on your feet just as quick, that is energy zapping. So yeah, like that's definitely gonna have an effect on the likes of Courtney, on the likes of the leaders of the pack that were trying to make up ground because of the start. Like Harry took it out hard. He took it out super hard. I think he ran 50 miles in about 8 hours, something
Yeah, was
ridiculous,
he at
like in a
something? Yeah.
250-mile race. Yeah, that was ridiculous. And like if you are like Courtney, or if you are Ryan Sands, or if you are Dan, you've got to go with Harry because you know Harry could actually pull something off and create an up. You have to go with him. You can't just say, "Oh, he'll go and he'll blow up." You have to go, and because Courtney had to go and they all had to go. Okay, met for serious times further down the line, a few days later, but that definitely had a bit of an effect on Courtney's day. I don't think Courtney would have wanted to have pushed that hard that early on.
Yeah, like what was the rationale there? Because like this is an experienced 200 plus mile runner. He's a proven winner in the category. And whenever he went out hard, people could only think, oh, well, he knows what he's doing. We need to go a bit harder too. And like you're right, this pulled people on, and it was maybe the people who just held their hands up and thought, I can't do this, I can't sustain this, who were smart early. That's the ones who, came through and ended up the likes of the Finn, getting fifth place. He wasn't even in that race at the start. It was like, that's not for me. And then it worked out for him in the end. So look, it's a strange one, his pacing, and I'm not quite sure why he did that.
I don't know. Like I get it for 100K or 100 miler to take it out that hard, but for a 250-mile race to take it out that hard and risk, you not alone risk your own race, but you also fucking wreck everyone else's race. Like, he wrecked so many people's races because of that. Although, look, it played into the hands of someone like Finn, right? Because if that was going to be a 100 mile race or something like that, he was going to be nowhere. Whereas now he ends up finishing fifth, and that's incredible. Like that's an incredible finish. Like so, I tip my hat to Finn for sticking it out, and he said he wanted to finish higher than he finished last year, and he was seventh last year, and he's fifth this year. So, that's a great result for Finn.
Yeah, and he actually thought he would run quicker, but maybe finish around seventh, maybe eighth. So yeah, it's a result for him, but it comes down to time. If you run a quicker time and you can, it ends up you're being higher up the field. Happy days. It's great. So other thing on the weather while we're talking about that is Michael Versteeg, previous winner, uh, the modern day Anton,
Yeah.
a bit of a legend. Uh, he complained that he wasn't used to humidity because
Mm.
desert heat is dry. And then this rained, and all of a sudden you've got the heat, the ground is warm, it creates this tricky underfoot clay and muck. Plus it then is humid. And he really struggled with that. So there's another heat related casualty. And also whenever things are hotter and they're going out hot with a pace, like it's a recipe for disaster.
Also, what people mightn't understand either is that humidity plays a huge factor in hydration as well and fueling for a race. If you're used to running that dry desert kind of heat, you're not sweating as much, so you don't need to be taking on as much electrolytes because you're not losing as much salt as somebody who's running in a more humid climate. Like so, that would have had a huge effect on a lot of them that weren't expecting it at all. Now, I think that it's an ultra at the end of the day, and anything can happen in an ultra, and you need to be able to adapt. And like, if you're having a problem with sweating, like it's not the hardest thing in the world to combat that. But if you're stuck in your ways, and that's the only way you know how to train, then the wheels are just going to fall off.
Yeah, totally. Look, let's chat a little bit about the man who had the day, Dan Green. Uh, I think he's maybe 28 years old, young guy, has legs. Where did you have him in your fantasy picks for this one?
I want to say I had him in fifth. I had him in fifth, and like fifth was a sort of a long shot. It was like, yeah, I think he could go well. I definitely didn't expect him to be winning the race and to be setting a new course record. It's unbelievable. But you know what? We talked about it before, and I'm sure you were going to touch on it in the show. It's people's attitude in these kind of races. We see it, we talk about it with Rachel, but we also need to talk about it with Dan. It's like anytime the camera was on Dan, he was in good spirits. He was trying to crack a joke. He was having fun with his crew, and he was trying to smile his way through the pain because I can only imagine the amount of pain that he was in. I was watching a lot. I watched a lot of the live stream. I have to say, like, I didn't expect to watch as much as I did, and I saw his finish. I watched him go for the last, I think, 5 or 6 miles, and I mean, he was still charging, but he looked broken. Like he looked like he wasn't able to, but he was still charging, and it was so cool to see. Yeah.
He looked like a man that only had 15, 20 minutes sleep in 3 days or whatever it was. And, it's so impressive that Dan, like first off, I had him in fifth as well. So the results aren't posted yet on Fantasy Free Trail, so I don't know if I've beaten you this week or not. Time will tell. I usually do, so we'll say nothing.
Yeah. Okay. There's no. I don't think we could say either of us are a winner in this because our picks were shot to shit, man. They were shot to shit after day one.
Good job. It's just me versus you. That's the fantasy battle. It's not us against the world
Yeah.
because the picks would be pretty shit. Um, so what about Dan's fueling? Like we saw the feed put out a post about his fueling, and it was like 120 grams of carb per hour and 1,000 something milligrams of sodium. Now they didn't specify what the sodium was with, so we're going to assume that that was per liter because that's
Hmm.
how you quantify sodium loss or sodium use. What do you think of those numbers, and do you think they're believable?
Oh, I don't know. Can I call BS on that? Because
You
I
can
think a lot of that,
call
yeah,
it.
like I think it's bullshit, right? I think you can say, oh well, he took this much and he took that much, but how are you calculating that? Like, are you telling me that all he had through that whole race was gels and drink mix that you can then quantify and you can write down, oh, he had this and he had that. Like, how much real food did he have? You know, like he surely had a lot of real food. And if he's having real food at aid stations, who's keeping account of that? Who's writing down what this is and how many grams of this it is? And how did he know for sure? Like, you know, maybe it's a ballpark figure, but I would think that for a 250-mile race to be taking on 115, 120 grams of carbs an hour, it's pretty extreme, I think. I don't think you'd be able to sustain that throughout the whole race. I just don't think you could.
I don't even know if you would be processing that amount. Like the heart rate would be so low at that kind of pace. He was just shuffling at the end. Now he was still moving, and that's what the game is about. Who slows down the least?
Mm.
And Dan slowed down the least. But it just feels like 120 grams an hour is too many grams of carb. And it kind of suits being sponsored by the feed, though.
See, this is it, right? Like, a lot of it is the feed is pushing it. Look, look, that's how marketing works. You say that, and people are like, "Oh, well, where did you get that? That I got them." You know, look, it's great. We all need carbohydrates, right? We all need carbohydrates. I just wonder how accurate that is, right? And also, I think I saw somewhere in the chat, right, in the Trail Talk chat, that if that were true, and you were taking that in gel form, that's something like 90 gels a day. Like 90 gels a day. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't care, man. I like some gels. I like some NAC gels. I like some torque gels. But I mean, 92 of them. No thanks, man. No thanks.
No, like I think like I did a lot of gels during Bigfoot 200, and back in 2019, I was using Mountain Fuel gels. I think they were only like 20 grams of carb, but I was only doing like one of those an hour. Like, because there was 2019, we didn't know, we were just trying to slam as many carbs as we could. So I was doing one of these gels an hour plus like eating proper food at the aid stations. And I
Mm,
ended up, taking something like 60 something gels, and I had no issue. But like to do 90 odd, to hit 120 grams an hour, you'd constantly be eating. As Brian in the chat saying, like it could have been like a drink mix to get those carbs up. Certainly, if I'm trying to hit over 100 grams of carb per hour, I would have to be doing gels plus a drink mix, which certainly
well,
makes it easier.
yeah.
But that's a lot of weight to be carrying though as well.
It's a huge amount. It's a huge amount of calories. It's a huge amount of carbohydrates. Yeah, I don't know how you'd have time to run if you have to eat all that stuff. I don't know where he gets time to
Yeah,
run. Crazy.
yeah. As Wayne in the chat says, that's about $350 a day in gels. Add that on to your price of entry. Add that on to your crew costs. We're getting into I don't know, 10, 15K for a race. So look, let's move on from the nutrition thing, and we'll try and circle back to this because I'm keen to know a bit more about Dan's fueling and what it was it just a mix of everything, or what? Let's talk a little bit about, like, we'll come full circle and talk about the rest of the podium, but let's jump in. We're 20 minutes into the show, and I want to talk a bit about Max. So
Mm.
Max was sitting bottom end of the top 10, and he had to leave the course and go to hospital. A whole string of things, from rhabdo to enlarged heart to a load of other things. And I did hear prior to that happening that he actually came into the race not feeling 100%. So
Yeah.
he's then dug himself a big ass hole that it ended up in hospital. So what do you think about this?
He was doing something pretty extreme a few days out, maybe a week out as well. Uh, like, it was a machine or it was a tent or what did you see that? What was he doing? What was that exactly doing?
It was what was it? It was an oxygen tent or chamber or something, but that was for recovery or something.
Mm. What because he was doing that, I was kind of thinking, is this because he's not recovered? He's not 100%, and he's doing this to sort of like, I don't know, to sort of like Cameron Haynes, David Goggins, the shit out of it. Like, I'm just going to get this done no matter what. Like, is that that's kind of the attitude I think he was bringing into it, like that he was saying, I've never trained as hard. He was training so hard that the training almost broke him, if you know what I mean. So I think he was very close to the edge of being completely run down or burnt out, and then you've got to go and run 250k. Now look,
Miles.
if he has rhabdo or 250 miles, what am I talking about? Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if it's a case he has rhabdo, like that's pretty serious. Like I know there's a list of stuff that could be wrong with him, but that in itself is enough to completely finish your race. Like, do you know what I mean? That's where do you know what I mean? You're basically poisoning yourself. You're killing your kidneys, and your kidneys are killing you. So like that's really serious. And do you know what? Like for anyone that is new to this sport of endurance and multi-day kind of things, this is not the first time something like this happened. It can be common enough in these big multi-day adventures where people suffer from rhabdo. Like it's very serious, and it can kill you.
Yeah, it's serious stuff, as well as the enlarged heart. And Dr. Joe Warren in the Trail Talk chat in the nutrition group, we were chatting about this, and he was just saying like these things that have happened to him, they're all very serious, but these are symptoms of ultra running.
Mm.
Like these are the things that we see from this sport, which we think is healthy, and but we're actually really stressing the body, and there are studies that show enlarged heart is one of the side effects of ultra running. One other thing about
Yeah.
Max, I think it showed like the guy has grit. Like I give him that. He can go hard, and I kind of respect that. But he is quoted as asking, is it possible to rejoin the course on Saturday to finish it off because he wants to finish?
Yeah.
And like that's a little bit crazy, but I do respect the hustle.
Yeah. Of course, you know what I mean. And again, I think that's the way the man's wired. Like he's wired a little bit differently. I know, look, we're all a bit mad, as in the stuff we do. We're ultra runners. We do crazy things, but he takes it to the other level, you know. And I have heard him say that, he'll never quit. You know what I mean? I will never quit. You know what I mean? I truly believe that if he thought he could keep going, he'd have kept going, but this is serious, and there's no way in hell any sort of like doctor or medical person is going to clear him and say, yeah, you can jump back in that race. And I can't imagine our Viper are going to allow that either, because at the end of the day, no one wants to see someone die on their course, man.
Yeah, but like, would they know if he gets out of hospital and he can go back to where he exited the course? I think he's still allowed to continue. But does that mean that the streak is over? Like this man is known for doing 1 mile in place on a plane to keep the run streak alive. And say what you want about run streakers, I respect the consistency of doing something, and consistency is probably the number one quality in running. Say what you like, good or bad about run streaks, but do you think the streak's over?
I doubt it. I actually can see the man running up and down the hallway of the hospital with his walking aid. I think they do very well to stop him continuing that streak. And it'd be like trying to stop Andy Glaze doing 100-mile week. Like it's damn near impossible. Like these lads, when they get something into their head, they're going to do it. Like and then no matter what or what damage he's doing to himself, I think he'd be a bit stupid enough to keep the streak going. Like yeah,
Yeah, I think the guy would be thinking, I can walk a mile. I can walk a mile and record it as a run in my watch. Job done. We're good. We're good.
yeah.
A couple of things coming through in the chat. Tom, yes, consistency or obsession. we are all obsessed with running, you included if you're an ultra runner, so let's accept it. And Mike earlier on in the chat was asking about, do we pay crews? I mean, you don't have your crews pay this stuff out of their own pocket. So if there's a crew vehicle, if there are travel costs, generally you will can at least contribute, if not cover those costs, because that's the I'm not like Ricky. I'm I'm your free crew. I'm your free crew for
Yeah.
Western States, but that's not the norm, is it?
No, it is not the norm. But like, I would say, I'll buy you a pint. That's kind of how.
And
I'll
make me
buy
as
you a
many
few
cups of tea
pints.
as
I'll
I
buy you a
want.
few. Yeah, yeah. I'll buy you a few pints, and that we'll call it quits then.
Right, let's move over to Ryan Sands, or as I heard one American commentator call him, Ryan Sandys.
Mm,
No, it's not Ryan
mm,
Sandys, it's Ryan Sands.
yeah.
Hashtag sleeping burrito. What do we think about Ryan? He's like a phoenix from the flames. The man has found a new niche, and apparently he's really got the stoke for Cocodona. So what do you make of Ryan's race? All in all, a pretty good one.
I had him. I had him. I think I had him in second place, and second place is where he ended up because he just showed his qualities as an elite professional athlete, and the way he's gone about his business over the last whatever 20 years of being an elite athlete. Like he just went to work, didn't panic, didn't stress, just kept really, really efficient at all his aid stations. Again, I saw a lot of the live stream. I was able to catch a lot of the times where he was always changing his shirt, he was changing shoes, he was taking care of himself. He had a brilliant crew in Lucy Bartholomew and Christian Meyer, and I'm sure there was more there, but Lucy and Christian ran a ton of miles with him. Uh, and as a team, Solomon were brilliant. They were just brilliant, like from Ryan all the way down. They were brilliant, yeah.
And Ryan seemed to finish out the race with the old ultra lean. Like he was cocked
Oh,
over to one side. Normally you see that at the back of the pack, and apparently it's to do with something to do with
yeah,
like a sodium imbalance or some sort of electrolyte imbalance. And I remember at UTMB a year or two ago, my wife Sarah was there, and she's like, what are all
mm,
these old guys coming into town with hiking poles like bent over at like 20 degrees, just like hustling
yeah.
through to the finish. So Ryan Sands, pro athlete, finished the Cocodona 250 in second place with the ultra lean. What about that for crack?
But that was it. When I saw him come across the line, and he gave Lucy a bit of a hug on the run down, but then when he let go of Lucy, it was just but it was brilliant. It was brilliant to see it. Like it just shows like what he had put himself through to get there, to get to that finish line. You know what I mean? That the ultra lean, respect to the ultra lean.
And do you think he's going to come back to Cocodona? Like getting success, when you get success at something, you lean into it. That's how this game works. You know, if you find your niche, and um, he didn't find his niche at UTMB, God love him, but
Mm.
maybe doing some 200 milers in the States could be a real uh, career boost for Ryan.
Definitely. I'd like to give him a few days before he announces it because you can only imagine, okay, adrenaline and this, that, and the other, and what that has actually done to his body. Like he's probably never gone through anything quite like that before. You know, he's run some big races and he's run some fast races, and they take shit out of you. But I wouldn't be able to even comprehend what a 250-mile race takes out of you, and especially when you're being pushed that hard. You know, you've got people chasing you. You've got a guy to chase. They were to and fro all day long, so he was on the edge of, do you know what I mean, of falling apart all the time. So the recovery is going to be huge on this, but I think his stoke for this is going to be through the roof, and he'll definitely be back. I think to try and win it and maybe break that course record because now he's figured out I can do this.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to see him come back. I think it's a good
Mm.
one. And someone else that I think we know is going to come back now is Courtney. What do you think about? the Courtney race or the 108 miles that Courtney made it. Like, what do you think that does to? I mean, her reputation is ironclad, but we don't see Courtney quit, or we
Mm.
haven't seen Courtney quit often. And things got hard, and she quit, and she said, "Look, I had full body shutdown." And I take all of this stuff with a grain of salt because whenever you quit in a race, like it's either an injury or you've gone too hard. Like there are other things that can happen, but the majority of the things fall into those two buckets. So what do you think about Courtney?
It's a strange one because look, until she like openly comes out and talks about it, we'll never really know because it's not like that distance that she ran or the pace that she ran at isn't something that we've seen her do, like haven't seen her do before. You know, we've seen her crush times before. We've seen her crush those kind of distances before. So it's a hard one to know what made her quit because she doesn't quit, you know,
And she won't, but
and
we
it,
won't know because we get no details from Courtney. You know, we get a smile and very little detail, so it's kind of left up to the imagination, which is unfortunate, but like it's just hard to put your finger on anything other than she went too hard. She was maybe chasing a time because we
mm,
do know that Kevin, her husband, will put together a spreadsheet with like a pacing strategy of this is what we think we could do. We. So
yeah. Like, and it's a funny one because when I was watching her, like her on day one, and she was leading the race, and she had a big lead, like at one time, you know, and she didn't look like she was doing something out of her comfort zone. It was She didn't look like she was pushing too hard. She still looked like she was in control of her running. She still seemed to have a smile on her face. So unless she did have an injury, I just find it weird that she got into the aid station. Maybe we all thought she was taking a nap. Everyone thought, oh, she's taking a nap, and then maybe this is a strategic thing that she's going to sleep for an hour. But then when it got past an hour, it was like, this is Courtney. Courtney doesn't sleep for longer than like 10 minutes. So then it's like, nah, there's something up here. And then what? 3 or 4 hours later, we find out that she's not continuing on. So maybe there was an injury that we just don't know about because I don't know. I find it unlikely that she just blew up and couldn't continue racing.
yeah,
Like,
it just says to me it had to have been weather related because stats for the race 108 miles, just over 12,000 meters of gain for the full race. It's stacked at the front, but even if you said there's two-thirds of the vert in the front at the first part of the race, that's not difficult for Courtney. Courtney is a proper, you know, mountain runner and ultra athlete,
mm.
and I feel like weather has played a factor. If it was an injury, if it was, you know, a knee, a hip, a foot, whatever, I think that's the type of thing that we would hear.
Do you would you say this is going to affect her confidence, like going into another event? Because now it's like she quit, she failed, she couldn't push on. You know, is that going to like be in her head in the next couple of races?
Well, it's like all things, you know, the top, you can't be at the top forever. You can't have this unbeaten run forever. And but her next race and her goal is Hard Rock, and she'll kind of walk Hard Rock. The closest competition she'll have is Katharina Hartmouth, who will put up a good race, but it'll be totally within Courtney's comfort zone, hiking up and down mountains in Silverton. So I expect her to get an easy run there.
Mm.
You know, it won't be that depth. So look, uh,
Would
interesting.
it be, yeah, would it be something as simple as this? Would it be something as simple as this that you push hard, you're leading the race, you're you're able to do it, right? But it's hard, and you get 108 miles in, and then you realize, can I keep this going for the next 150 miles? Let's say, you know, can I actually, and do I have the want to continue on for another 150 miles of this? And maybe she just decided, no, I don't have it. I just don't have it this week, like. Because at the end of
Ricky,
the day, like, she's human. She is human. She's not a machine. Like, she's not a robot. She could easily just say, "Oh fuck, this is hard." Hey,
maybe. Look, I need to put a hard stop on this Courtney debate because there's something kicking off in the chat that I'm not happy about. Look, Brian has started this conversation about sub-ultra. Let's just put it out here. There's no such thing as a sub-ultra. It's an Americanism. Uh, and we're just letting outsider.ie know this is not anything that exists. This is a term that Debo made up to term the coin for races under 50k. And that same conversation, he also said that races over 100 miles are super ultras. So Cocodona is a super ultra in Debo's world, but we don't need terms like this because we know that there's short trail and there's long trail.
yeah,
And I mean, this is ultra running. If you want to run a trail race, it's a trail race. If you want to run an ultra distance trail race, guess what it is? It's an ultra trail. So there we go. We're moving on.
yeah,
What about
yeah,
Rachel, the women's winner?
yeah.
What a performance. And what a let me just throw a few things out. Positivity. Positivity is a superpower in ultra running, and that woman had it from start to finish. She thought she was racing Courtney until she wasn't, and she still crushed it.
Mm.
Massive PR, winner of the race, first two-time winner of Cocodona. What do you got to say about Rachel?
Ah, class act, class act. Enjoyed this woman from start to finish. Always cracking a smile, always having fun with anyone that was asking her questions or trying to interview her. She had time for everybody, and just crushing it. Like, she did think for so long that she was in second place, that she was second female, that she was still chasing down Courtney because her crew had decided we're not going to tell her just yet, just yet. We just keep it on the down low, which I thought was a good idea. But sometimes you're thinking, oh, I don't know, is that a good idea? Because when she does finally find out, is then that it? Is she just going to shut down? But no, she stayed positive. And again, we're talking about that positive attitude. If you can crack smiles and jokes, it can get you through some of the worst things in a race. Like, so your purple patches, everyone gets a purple patch and everyone gets a bad patch. And I was talking about this to a few young lads up in the mornings. I was saying, lads, the thing is, when you get into ultra running, you're going to have really bad spells in a race. But if you're long enough at it, you realize that it'll end and the good times will come back. And the bad times might come again, but the good times will come. And it's always like that. It's yo-yo and up and down, up and down. But if you can pretend that you're having fun, it'll get you through until you are having fun.
Yeah, smile takes you a long way, right? Uh, let's touch on the live stream. Brian submitted a question, and it was actually something that I wanted to talk about anyway. The question was, let me just read it out to set the scene here. Is Cocodona live stream backsliding? It felt flat. Maybe the honeymoon phase is wearing off. I had a few notes about the live stream. I didn't watch a ton of it. Like, I was glued to it for day one, but then with travel and things, I was in and out of the live stream until the podium was completed. But like, my thoughts were, it felt like the studio setup and the commentator rotation has evolved, and we saw various other people on the mic. Uh, Trail Talker and Mid Packer Pod man Troy was back there holding down the fort for a bit. Go Troy! And loved seeing the likes of Tara Dyer. Thought Corinne Shalvoy did a great job on commentary as well. Great energy there from Corinne, and generally all of the women that were doing the commentary, I thought did a great job. But in terms of video quality, video coverage, and maybe also what the commentators had to talk about. Like, they were just reacting to what they were seeing in real time, which you or I could have done as well. Like, they had no extra information. There was no, they didn't feel like there was that much information come to them from the field that they could then report back to us, the
No.
viewers, to enhance the experience. So to me, it did feel flat in that sense. There wasn't any useful information at times, and it was more like this live stream and the live chat was like the global ultra trail community was coming together to experience it, to experience it rather than it actually enhancing it. What was your take on the live?
Yeah, I'll start with the because I'll come back to the bits that I did like, right? And I did enjoy a lot of the live stream, and it was more the audio that I was listening to and the commentary more than the actual watching of it, because I was at work and I had the headphones in and I had the YouTube streaming and I was listening rather than watching. So it didn't really matter to me. It didn't affect me so much because I couldn't see anything anyway, right? So I'm only
God
listening
love
to
you.
what.
God love you. Up on that roof, putting in tiles, putting on
Yeah,
solar
yeah.
panels, listening to the drip of the live stream audio. Jesus Christ, that's a terrible
the
existence.
the and I think you made a good point about it in the chat as well, where it, they're just sort of winging it and they're just guessing the same way we'd be guessing. As in when Courtney was asleep and we didn't know was she going to continue, they didn't know any more than we knew, and it was just guessing and hearsay, and it was like, I don't know, sure, we haven't been told yet, nobody's talking to us, so like we don't know. And that's the way it felt all the time. But I did really enjoy the commentary. Troy did an amazing job, like Troy Meadows, he did a great job. Like even I tuned in today, right? I tuned in today at work and he was on it straight away. He said, Ricky's in the chat. Ricky's in the chat. Called me out, talked about me, talked about other people, got a bit of banter going between some of the other people in the chat as well. And I just thought that was great. Like, I've never really tuned in on something for so long. And that was over 3 days I was tuned in, like on and off. But like it would have been like 4 or 5 hours at a time where I was fucking listening to it. And I thought I'd never do that. But it was good that way. It's just a shame it hasn't come on as in the live feed of watching the race as it happens and seeing what's happening and when it's happening. And trackers are down and we weren't sure who was asleep or who was first, who was second, who was third. There was a lot of guessing going on, and that is the annoying part about a live stream like that. You expect it to be better than that.
Yeah, like I think this whole tracker thing, we've been talking about trackers, we've been talking about live trail. This is like the shit show of ultra running. Like we
Mm.
are trying to follow races and trackers aren't accurate. Live trail for the UTMB races is not accurate. This is an absolute balls. Like
Yeah.
it's not good enough. The sport needs to move on. How can you tune in or follow a race and oh his tracker hasn't updated? Like you needed to have the tracker, you needed to have the live chat, and you needed to have a bit of cop on to know, oh right, you go in and you click and you see, oh that tracker hasn't updated in an hour. Like for the first day, Michael Versteeg's tracker what was like an hour and 40 minutes out of date. So he was showing us like 30th or something whenever he was running in fifth or sixth. So something needs to improve with this. The technology is there. What I don't really understand is why the trackers in this race aren't as good as the trackers that you would see in the races that we would have in the UK.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the trackers in the spine, if you look at the tracker that somebody might use for a Bob Graham round, these things are pinging more frequently and they're accurate. People can follow it. People can use a tracker to say such and such is going to be at this aid station. Their predicted time is 3 hours from now, and crews use that to get around a course to then support. Like if it's just a case of increasing the update frequency on the trackers and then swapping the trackers out, like
Yeah.
swapping the tracker out at 100 miles or swapping the trackers out every 24 hours because that's, it's related to battery life. Update frequency is increased, more battery is used, then just do it. Like if it means there's double the cost of trackers, trackers are not expensive. Like it's 40 quid to hire a tracker.
Yeah.
So if it was 80 quid to double the update frequency and have better tracking, like this is ultra running. We're happy to follow a dot.
This is Cocodona 250, right? And same with UTMB, because UTMB has been a bit of a shit show lately. The live trail's been really crap lately as well for anyone that's been following races and all that. I was following a local race here in Ireland at the weekend that's done by a crowd called Primal Tracking, right? And a couple of years ago, I would have said that it's awful and it's terrible. And it hasn't come on since a couple of years ago. It's just that it's probably better than what they're using. And I can't for the life of me figure that one out. Like, this was basic. The one that I'm following was basic 3 years ago. They're still using it, but it works. It works. And I'm not having a refresh, and nothing happening, because there is nothing more frustrating than shit tech that doesn't work.
Yeah, totally. And Primal Tracking in Ireland actually are using the platform and technology from Open Tracking in the UK, which is the trackers that I was talking about for the spine, for the bulk rim, for whatever's happening in the UK. It's always Open Tracking, and Primal are using that same tech. So I'd love to see that improve. Any other
Mm.
closing thoughts on Cocodona before we move on to the next segment?
I really enjoy it. I have to say, like, I would never have been into Cocodona as much as I was this year, and maybe it's because of all the members and Trail Talk, and there was so much hype behind it this year around. But I got such a buzz for it this year, and I was like, Jesus, you know what? I wouldn't mind having a go at that race. Like, what I never said that before. So, to everyone that made me change my opinion slightly on that, that's only a good thing. That's definitely a good thing.
You heard here first. Ricky Wynn is gonna do Cocodona some year. I can see it. Like we all our ultra running careers all evolve. Yeah, interesting. So look, just tackle something in the chat. Matthias from Electric Cable Car mentioned in there that look, I Run Far don't do the Twitter updates anymore, so there's a vacuum. Bring back the Twitter updates, bring back the tweets, bring back the X updates. Like if we were getting that from each aid station, that was
Yeah,
great. And the way they used to do that was they would recruit volunteers, and volunteers would be out in the course. They would send the information to the main account, and then I Run Forward would be tweeting out the current standings. Like we didn't even get to follow the standings. Like
yeah,
stick a ticker along the bottom of the screen. That's all we want. Like
yeah,
we were going round and round in circles in the chat of where is Rachel, where's Max, where's Finn, whatever, and whenever you jumped into the chat or jumped it back into the live stream, you were having to ask these questions if you're away again, because there's no way of just seeing, what's the current standings, because the trackers are shit and it's not on screen in the live stream.
yeah.
So this has
Just
got to
like you
improve.
said, just like you said, just on the live screen, just on the screen, a little list in the corner of the leaders, even if it's top 10, top 20, just, or you know what I mean, flickering over and back. That's all we're looking for. That's it. We're not looking for anything amazing. Just I'd like to know who's winning the feckin' race.
Very true. Right, look, we're running on in time, but I'm loving it. I'm here for it. The sun's up outside. It is a beautiful day. Next segment. This is Trill Talk Live. Catch up on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your pods if you can't stick around. And also xmiles.co.uk to support our sponsor. Ricky, what about Francois? Dropped
Mm.
dropped an Instagram post with his race calendar. So what we're looking at, Transylvania 100K at the end of this month. That's a race that I did in 2017. Podium?
But
What?
yeah,
What?
yeah,
Age group podium.
yeah.
But even still, look, it's a great race. It's a proper mountain course. It's 100K. It's actually a little bit over. It's like 107K, over 7,000 meters of vert. It's wild. Romania is fucking class. It's not touched by modern things. You'll see a horse and cart coming down the main road, and you're coming down in a hire car, dodging potholes that are a foot deep. This is a country that is, in the dark ages whenever you go outside of Bucharest, which again is beautiful. Great weather in the summer, but also in May you can get snow up on top in the Caspians. Uh, in the Caucasus, I should say. So, what are we talking about with Transylvania 100K? Why would Francois do this race? I'll just throw it out here before you can take over.
Mm.
Has Francois decided maybe we need to do B tier races as well. Like normally I would have thought doing something like a Transylvania 100K is something that you don't maybe put out there as one of your goal races if you're Francois.
Yeah, but unless it's a confidence thing, unless it's a I've had a shit few years and I've had injury after injury and nothing's clicked and nothing's worked. Maybe I just need to go back, get an easy, well, not easy, but get a win that should be easy for him, right? Or and get some confidence back. Like other than that, I don't see the point doing a race like that for Francois Dehaene, like to rock up to trans to that race. I just think that it's just sheer confidence builder. Get a win under the belt and try and remember what it's like and how it feels to win a race again because he hasn't had the best of times lately.
Ricky, Tour de Jean. I mean,
Yeah.
Francois is still here, but I think it's a risky strategy going to Transylvania thinking, you know, I can get an easy W here because you go to these countries like Romania and Poland and these kind of Eastern Bloc countries, and you get crushers you've never heard of, people that are training hard and are good. Like, there's a ton of people who do well from those countries. We don't really know their names because they don't compete that often out of them. So
Mm.
risky strategy if you're just going there for the dub. Next one on the list, Nolan's 14 FKT. Love it. Absolutely love it. It's the one route in the US that I would love to have a go at. Uh, he's obviously going to be. He said that he loves Silverton. He's a hard rocker. He loves hard rock, and it'll be around hard rock time of year. So I'm guessing that he's there crewing,
Mm.
supporting, being part of the hard rock family, and he tackles Nolan's 14 as part of that summer adventure as well. Great training too for UTMB then later in the summer. So what do you think about Nolan's 14?
Yeah, a tough record to go for, but I think that's more just like now that we're saying Nolan's 14, and now it's like maybe he's just having fun, if you know what I mean. Maybe he's just like, okay, I'll do well,
Transylvania.
Transylvania. Yeah, Transylvania. I'll do Transylvania, Dracula's race, right? I'll do that race. Bit of crack, bit of fun. Hopefully get the win. Head over to Nolan's, do the FKT on that with the crew, doing hard rock, doing a cool thing, getting fit in the process, and just like having fun.
Yeah, and we think about Nolan's 14. It's had the record broken a few times in recent years, and we think, is this something that Francois can do? Of course he can do it. The barometer for all of these things is look at the previous record holders or current record holders and think, would Francois beat them at UTMB? And as much as I am a big David Hedges fan, David Hedges is not a multiple UTMB winner. So
Yeah,
you got to think that that is probably not a difficult record for Francois to take down. And it's also a
yeah,
place that he loves.
yeah. It is funny when people do get FKTs. Like FKTs, they're a bit different on this side of the on this side. I think in Europe we don't look at them the same way they kind of do in America, whereas they hold them really high in America. Whereas it's an FKT by yeah okay by David Hedges, but he's not a pro like he's not a dude like Francois or like Killian. If either of these lads were toe to toe with you at a race, you're probably not going to beat them. Like so, someone like Francois, that record is definitely there for the taking. Yeah, 100%.
And then on to U10B, end of the summer. Great to see Francois coming back to U10B after a year off at the tour. And like we're gonna have big speculation on this one in the coming months, but I just think that's great that he's gonna be back there. It's good for U10B, it's good for the sport, and also it's great for the pretenders as well, for the likes of Tom Evans, Ben Demon, people like this who have an opportunity to race against multiple winner.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Like it's kind of like the again the Killian factor. It's like a UTMB without Killian is kind of it's I wish Killian was doing it, and it's the same with Francois. It's like a UTMB without Francois. It's like I wish Francois was in it, you know. So it's so good to see him back in it. Yeah, so good. It'll be very interesting because the way that race is won now is like basically just sheer speed now at the minute. So it'll be interesting to see how Francois attacks it this year.
Yeah, yeah,
Of
it'd be
what?
interesting, and we'll definitely
Yeah,
we'll come back to that in the later in the year. It'd be an interesting one. Look, let's start to wrap it up. This is the longest Trail Talk Live we have ever done, but we had a lot to talk about. Like the longest race of the season means the longest show of the season too. A couple of other things just want to touch on. The Cocodona Fantasy is still running because people are going to still be out there for a couple of days. So next week we'll see who beat who and how badly that we did. But Transvolcania is this weekend, and Dakota Jones, Blondine Hirondelle, and just at the time of going live, Dmitry Mechiev has also pulled out of the race.
no.
Quadzilla is not in the game. So, look, I think that's really disappointing to see. He hasn't had the start of the season that we all would expect from him. I would say even that maybe it's the worst start of the season he's ever had. So
Yeah.
unfortunate there. Any thoughts on Transvolcania?
Well, that's yeah. Well, it's kind of ruined it really for me because now you're taking two of the favorites out of the race, and you're left with about, no offense to everyone else in the race, but you're left with about maybe three other runners that could do something maybe special at it. Not having them in the race is a big blow. It's a big blow. Like,
Take this as notice. Update your fantasy picks. I don't want no soft excuses next week going, oh, I
yeah.
hadn't updated. I've updated mine, but a
Where
couple other
where
people.
where did you have? Where did you have? I know Dakota was gone, but where did you have Dimitri?
I had him in I had him in third just because of the way that his seasons went. Otherwise, I maybe would have had him in second, basically because I think I have David Sinclair down for the win because I think that guy has been on a tear. He doesn't race that often.
Mm.
It's a little bit over his normal distance on ultra trail. Like he's a really fast 50K guy, but he's a proper uphill athlete, this dude. And I think if he's going in and doing Transmeccania, he's going prepared. So I think David Sinclair could take that one.
Good shout. I have him in second, but also Matt Daniels is running it. I'm excited to see Matt Daniels over there. I think he's
In the
class.
same
Like,
way that you never bet against Killian, you almost if it's not a 50K, you almost never bet for Matt Daniels
yeah,
because the performances aren't consistent.
they're not. But you don't know what he's going to do. You know what I mean? He's having a little bit of form at the minute, and he could go really well there. So I think I had Dimitri in third, and I switched him. I can't remember exactly, but then I copped Matt Daniels, so I brought Matt Daniels up to fourth. So I have Matt Daniels in
I,
fourth for my
I have
picks.
I have him in fifth, and honestly, it's more of a gut. It's more of a gut thing. I don't know if he'll run fifth. I think he'll either be up front or nowhere, as in not
Mm.
finish. But look, I hope he has a good race. It would be nice to see him crush something over 50K. Uh, but I think
And
the
what?
race at Transvolcania is the women's race. Like I'll give you some of the names. I do need to change Blondine out of my top five, but like Ruth Croft, Martina Valmasoy, Ekaterina Matiev,
Mm.
and Annalise Rousset, previous hard rocker winner. So like there's the women's race is probably the one to follow.
Katrina and Ruth. I think the be if there's going to be a battle, that's the battle. I think if there's going to be a battle, that's the
Well,
battle. I think.
how are you not talking about Martina? Sure, Martina uh, is a previous winner of this race and just on the ascendancy since she focused more on the competition than the photography. I think she's
Mm,
a
yeah,
better
yeah, yeah,
athlete than Ekaterina.
yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, we've silenced
I still,
Ricky. Time to move
yeah.
on. We will circle back to this next week, and we'll see who beat who, because that's all that matters. Did I beat
I,
you, or did you beat me?
I,
This is. Go ahead.
just one more in the men's race. Harry Jones. I'd like to see Harry do well.
I know, but that's a hard pick.
Yeah, that's a hard pick. Of course, it's a hard pick. But I'd like to see Harry go well.
For anyone tuning in, you can play along at Fantasy League as well. Link is in the bio somewhere, and this is the Trail Talk League as part of Fantasy Free Trail. Remember, it's the one time that you can beat Ricky Wynn, and I relish the opportunity each and every week. And generally, I beat him as well, so it's a great feeling.
It's the only time in my life I'm not a sore loser, so don't worry about
And shout out to Alan from the Trail Talk community. He's also racing Transvicania, so hope he has a great run. Any closing comments from you, Ricky? I know we didn't do much of a training update, but look, we've run the hour on Trail Talk Live this week, so we will pencil some of that update in for next week as we get closer to your race and very close to mine,
it.
if not after
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's very close to your race. Yeah, very close. I'm excited for you, man. I'm excited. I'm nervous for you. It's going to be savage.
Don't be nervous. It's a day out, and I love this shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Right, let's
Deadly,
wrap it up.
deadly.
Let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for tuning in to Trail Talk Live. Catch up on all the podcast players. Support the sponsor, XMiles. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. Enjoy your running. Ricky, I'll catch you soon, mate.
Peace.
Bye.